The wind howled across the jagged cliffs of Arvith, carrying the acrid scent of sulfur from the steaming vents below. Among the blackened rocks, a tiny dragon struggled to stay upright, its golden scales dull with soot and dust. Psst. The creature's wings were too weak, its legs trembling, and the world around it seemed impossibly large and hostile. Abandoned by its parents, it had no one to turn to. No guidance, no warmth. Only the harsh cries of the wind accompanied its lonely existence. Its small, emerald eyes caught a flicker of movement in the distance, silhouette that did not belong. A human, strange in every way, yet different from the predators and scavengers the dragon had been forced to evade since birth. The human walked with a confidence that seemed almost unnatural, carrying a satchel filled with tools that clinked and rattled with every step. To the dragon, it was both frightening and fascinating, a being of curiosity and possible salvation. The human knelt, their hands reaching out not in threat, but in an instinctive offer of help. "Hey there," they whispered softly, their voice gentle and warm against the howling wind. The dragon hesitated, instinct warring with desperation. Hunger and cold gnawed at its belly, urging it forward. Slowly, almost painfully, it inched toward the human. Days turned into weeks as the unlikely pair formed a fragile bond. The human, whose name was Elira, had a way of seeing the world that the dragon had never experienced. She fed it, taught it to stretch its wings without falling, and even repaired the minor injuries that came from misjudged flights. In return, the dragon offered companionship, its small heart swelling with trust and an affection it had never known. Elira was unlike anyone or anything the dragon had ever met. She wasn't afraid of its fire, nor did she recoil at the jagged teeth that had ended so many other lives. She saw potential, intelligence, and a spark of courage even in the smallest of claws. And gradually, the dragon learned to recognize the subtle shifts in her tone, the quiet patience in her hands, and the soft laughter that accompanied moments of triumph. When it first managed to glide above the cliffs without falling, but the world outside was not forgiving. Hunters sought the rare dragons for their scales, merchants for their eggs, and armies for their destruction. One day, a shadow loomed above the unmistakable shape of a warship cutting through the clouds. The dragon's instinct screamed to flee, but Elira's calm presence was a tether. "Stay close," she commanded, her eyes flashing determination. Together, they navigated the treacherous terrain, using caves, smoke, and clever diversions to evade capture. Through these trials, the dragon grew not just in strength, but in spirit. Its scales gleamed brighter, wings stretched wider, and its fiery breath became more precise. But what mattered most was the bond it shared with Elira, connection forged in trust, empathy, and shared survival. It was no longer just a small, abandoned dragon. It was a partner, a warrior, a guardian of a human who had risked everything for its life. Years passed, and the world slowly began to notice the dragon. Stories of a tiny golden dragon guided by a clever human spread across the lands. Legends whispered of the dragon and the stranger, a pair who could outwit armies, heal the wounded, and uncover secrets long lost to history. Together they weren't merely surviving, they were changing the world. But despite fame, danger, and the endless challenges of life outside the cliffs, the dragon never forgot the first touch of warmth, the first whispered encouragement, and the steady hands that had lifted it from despair. And Elira, in turn, saw not just a dragon, but a loyal companion who had grown into a magnificent creature of strength, intelligence, and heart, abandoned by its parents. The baby dragon had found something far more precious: trust, love, and a place in a world it never thought it could survive. And in the eyes of the strange human who had saved it, the dragon saw a reflection of itself, not small, not weak, but extraordinary. Together they soared above the cliffs, their bond unbreakable. A testament to the unexpected miracles born from compassion and courage.